I mean, last time when you think about it, having came, dip in price of Bitcoin, scramble, and then Bitcoin went on its progression upwards. The ETF has thrown everything all the rules out, right? Because you have a vacuum cleaner that's just sucking up all the available Bitcoin right now. So gold is at 90-ish plus billion of AUM in their ETFs. So here we are. Took gold 20 years to get here. We're going to do this in 3-4 months, maybe. The sovereigns are the single biggest competitors to the large public miners because they're really not interested in the cost to mine. They're looking to mine Bitcoin because they want to hold Bitcoin as a reserve asset. And if you hold Bitcoin as a reserve asset, you need to be able to ensure you can transact your Bitcoin. The only way to be able to ensure you can transact your Bitcoin is to mine it yourself.
Fred Thiel is an American business executive and the current CEO of Thiel Advisors and Marathon Digital Holdings, the world's largest Bitcoin mining company by market cap. During a recent interview with popular YouTube podcaster Scott Melker, Thiel reacted to the unprecedented level of demand from the spot Bitcoin ETFs, outlining how it affects mining and how Bitcoin miners, including his Marathon Digital Holdings, are responding to the increased demand. According to Thiel, Marathon has not been selling Bitcoin, but they've been getting a lot of calls from the institutional desks at exchanges about where to find Bitcoin. In addition to the ETFs, Thiel also mentions Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, describing the software company as a part of the massive vacuum cleaner that is rapidly sucking all the available supply. Coincidentally, earlier today, Saylor announced the acquisition of an additional 12,000 Bitcoin for MicroStrategy. According to Saylor's post on social media platform X, MicroStrategy acquired the 12,000 new Bitcoin for approximately $821.7 million, using proceeds from convertible notes and excess cash at approximately $68,477 per Bitcoin. With the latest purchase, MicroStrategy holds 205,000 Bitcoin acquired for about $6.91 billion and needs only 5,000 more Bitcoin to hold 1% of the maximum total Bitcoin supply. During his interview with Melker, Thiel further discusses Bitcoin's supply-demand imbalance, especially as we approach the halving, stating that some smaller miners may be selling now, but everyone will completely shut off the supply soon enough, driving prices higher. Thiel also talks about sovereign nations mining Bitcoin so they can hold it as a reserve asset. We will now bring you clips from the interview as the mining company executive paints an ultra-bullish future for Bitcoin in 2024 and beyond. Please watch, share, and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.
In our industry, it's about capital, capacity, meaning where you plug your miners in, and compute, which is the mining rigs. The mining rigs there's been a glut market. People are still able to buy miners. All of the big three miners, we all have orders with locked in pricing, locked in supply well into the future. Capital for the public miners has been easy to raise. The private miners have had a harder time still because there's no equipment lending like there used to be in the raw days. You could go to Galaxy, you could go to NYDIG, you could collateralize these machines. You can't do that anymore. So that favors the people who have access to capital. But capacity is a constraint, right? So there's a lot of orders out there. People have a lot of machines on order, and now they're scrambling to kind of find places to plug those in. So the actual hash rate increase will lag. But with the Bitcoin at these levels, what you're seeing is, many miners, not Marathon, but many miners are selling every Bitcoin they generate because they just don't know when the shoe's going to drop. And because they don't have access to credit lines or the public markets, they're having to sell. So, I think we're even seeing some old mining wallets. There was a note somebody wrote, a 10-year-old wallet, this week or the end of last week, I believe somebody reported that there had been 8 transactions of over 500 Bitcoin each. That's pretty large volumes considering a normal day in Bitcoin is $20 billion of trading. We're now trading close to 50 billion a day of Bitcoin. I think there's a lot of, because the ETFs are cash settled T+1, I think there's, a certain amount of potential market games that are being done by hedge funds and others where, they can go in, buy ETFs, and then market closes on Friday. The ETF has to buy the Bitcoin on Monday. Bitcoin price is going to rally over the weekend. Right, then you short that Bitcoin. So it's I think the market is learning about it. If the CFTC would allow futures that were commodity settled, I was speaking with a trader yesterday, and he said, Bitcoin would just run because people would just buy futures, sit on the Bitcoin, take delivery of it, right? And it would just run. So I think we're in for a very volatile market. You saw the swing the other day, it was a 10% swing. I think we're going to see a lot of that as you get this kind of demand that needs to be fulfilled, and then all of a sudden a bunch of coins come on the market. You're going to see a lot of OTC desks doing a lot of trading. The exchanges are still going to be tight. I know we get frequent calls from the institutional desks at exchanges just saying, hey, where can we find Bitcoin? And so I think the market's running right now, and fingers crossed when kind of the demand kind of abates, we'll settle at a good level for everybody. And then we will sally forth and see how the rest of the bull market goes. Yeah, I mean, just think about things, January of last year, Bitcoin 15,000. Here we are sitting at Bitcoin nudging 70,000, 65,000. For a miner like us, our SG&A and our operating costs get covered because of the high price of Bitcoin by not a lot of Bitcoin. So our HODL keeps growing. We're over 16,000 Bitcoin now, and we'll continue to run. Our Bitcoin HODL is over $1 billion. These numbers are kind of, quite staggering, I think, as you look at it going forward. And not to mention, how the success that MicroStrategy has had, and with their market cap almost doubling recently. So I think people are looking for all sorts of ways to have exposure to Bitcoin. There was a rotation out of the miners into ETFs. Because of the halving coming up. And I think post the halving, people will go back and see the beta advantages of investing in the miners. And, it'll be back to the kind of traditional model of one asset class, one of the assets playing off against the others.
For over a decade, the Bitcoin scene was mainly dominated by retail investors. Despite the volatility, bad press, and denigration from politicians and regulators alike, these investors looked forward to the day other categories of investors would realize the need for Bitcoin and come aboard. The day has come, and it has been glorious. We now have BlackRock, the world's largest asset management firm, urging its wealthy clients to buy Bitcoin. As of March 8th, the iShares Bitcoin Trust held a total of 195,985.31272 Bitcoin. Yet, BlackRock and the other ETFs have been buying for only a few weeks. What happens after several months of rapid accumulation? It'll undoubtedly be mind-blowing. During his discussion with Melker, Thiel also talks about increasing interest in Bitcoin among nation-states like El Salvador, Bhutan, and others, and how they are going to be the next big Bitcoin whales. Here are more clips from the interview.
I mean, I've been talking about this issue for a long time. The sovereigns are the single biggest competitors to the large public miners because they're really not interested in the cost to mine. They're looking to mine Bitcoin because they want to hold Bitcoin as a reserve asset. And if you hold Bitcoin as a reserve asset, you need to be able to ensure you can transact your Bitcoin. The only way to be able to ensure you can transact your Bitcoin is to mine it yourself. There's 1 million Bitcoin plus or minus left to be mined between now and 2140. No sovereign nation is going to sink $1 billion into infrastructure to go mine Bitcoin because they're thinking they're going to mine that million Bitcoin because their pro rata share will be a much smaller piece of that. So this is all about nation state security and treasury management. And I think what we're going to see is you've seen a huge amount of gold being purchased by central banks, these nations, because they don't want to be dollarized or they want to reduce their exposure to the dollar. You're going to continue to see that with Bitcoin now. Countries are beginning to, allocate to Bitcoin as a way to hold a certain amount of reserves. There's a lot of testing going on. You got to realize that with only 21 million Bitcoin and the actual trading venues for Bitcoin are fairly limited still. You have Binance outside of the US, which is the biggest exchange. Coinbase in the US, Gemini, et cetera. If you're a sovereign and you happen to be sitting on 10,000 Bitcoin and you happen to need to go buy a battleship or something, these are large chunks of Bitcoin that may or may not go on and off the market. So I think people are a little wary. They're going to want to test. I've certainly seen some stress testing going on some of the ETFs. There were some hedge funds that were doing high velocity tests, 10x the volume does it work or doesn't it? And it seemed to work fine. So I think this is a developing market. The demand is going to continue to develop, but it's going to be very volatile. The U.S. government holds 1% of all the Bitcoin. It's not a reserve asset. I don't think Senator Warren would admit that, certainly. But the U.S. government, because of what they have essentially confiscated from criminal activities, sits on 1% of the available Bitcoin. What's really amazing, you look at GBTC, a lot of the selling currently in GBTC is still bankruptcy-related sales and liquidations. It's not people saying, oh my gosh, the fees are too high and I'm leaving. There's some of that. But I think generally speaking, once those bankruptcy sales are completed, the net inflows number will grow potentially. And it's not abating right now.
Meanwhile, market sentiment on various platforms suggests that the likelihood of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission approving a spot Ethereum ETF has decreased by about 24%. In a recent post of X, Fox Business reporter Eleanor Terrett noted that there has been a significant change in the SEC's stance on spot Ethereum ETFs, something that did not happen at this stage with the Bitcoin ETFs. In the post, Eleanor wrote, "Optimism about the SEC approving the ETH spot ETFs by May 23rd is waning. Based on my conversations with people familiar, meetings in recent weeks have been very much one-sided, with issuers and custodians trying to rally SEC staff to get the process rolling, but staff not really engaging in meaningful ways like they did with the Bitcoin spot ETF applications." Eleanor revealed that the reason for the more sluggish approach is that SEC Chair Gary Gensler believes he has already placated the industry with the spot Bitcoin ETFs, and he doesn't want to anger anti-crypto politicians like Elizabeth Warren further by approving more crypto-based ETFs. The last part of the post reads, "One source tells me, staff has been very hard to gauge on this, and we're not sure if anyone really knows what's going on in their heads, but they're going to have to start work soon if it's going to have a shot." May 23rd is a little over 2 months away. May 23rd is the SEC's deadline to make a decision on ETF applications from VanEck and ARK 21 shares. When January 10th was only months away, the SEC was already meeting with issuers and actively asking questions about the ETFs. Do you think the story is going to be different for Ethereum ETFs? Or will another quick visit to the courts change the mood and increase the pace of things? Anti-crypto senators be damned. Please let us know what you think in the comments section below. Also, ensure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.